Intel would not be the only name to strike a deal with the White House. Earlier this week, NVIDIA and AMD agreed to pay the government 15% of their AI chip sales to China, while Apple has upped its investment in U.S. manufacturing to $600 billion, with CEO Tim Cook notably spending more time at the White House. The big question for investors: how do you trade these companies that are getting in business or being close to the administration? Is there more risk here, or is there potentially more reward? Let's ask Tim Seymour, CIO of Seymour Asset Management and a CNBC contributor. What do you think?
Thank you, Tessa. Well, as someone that's invested in a lot of other parts of the world where when you see the government step in to either nationalize or take a major stake, this is seen as something that would put a company at a discount. I mean, ultimately, this would not necessarily be something that you would be rallying on. I recognize that this is a new world order, and in fact, its globalism is dead. I mean, this dynamic is what we've seen with Apple, and we'll talk about that maybe in a second. But there are ways to get close to the government, and we talk all the time about Alibaba as being a company that got on the wrong side of the Chinese government. But once we knew that they were with the backing of the Chinese government, this is something that actually was a positive and was a re-rating moment for the stock. For Intel, I think they got in trouble on their earnings call where they said something along the lines of that the Ohio project was something that they were going to at least delay because it wasn't value accretive. And in addition to balance sheet dynamics, I think the Trump administration and the politics has been noted around Ohio and why this is such a big political football. I think it's really a case of where I just think the Intel management team felt this wasn't a good ROI. This wasn't a good return on investment. And I don't know that the government's involvement here is good for those types of decisions going forward. I think it's great in terms of balance sheet and in terms of support, but I don't know that this is the place where I would be very bullish.
When you're looking at what is required to get the approvals from government, we've seen it, we saw it at CBS Paramount, we've seen it with Apple, that there is a level of capitulation to what the administration wants in order to get the approvals that are necessary. For investors, how do you start to make those plays and say, okay, well, right now, the president is calling for the CEO of Intel to resign. I'm gonna go in because I'll bet you this turns around and they become close to the White House, and then we start to see some forward progress.
Tim Cook and what Apple did with their White House visit was a masterclass on how to work with this administration. And I think the Trump administration has made it very clear where they want follow through and they want adherence to U.S. first dynamics, not only for manufacturing, but security wise. So whether it's AMD and NVIDIA on the export licenses and paying a 15% big, but to now have it clear that this isn't a security issue, this is a monetizing issue. I think it's actually great for the companies. I think being practical, at least as an investor, and understanding, and I think AMD benefits more than NVIDIA just because I think the sovereign AI tour, so to speak, is one where adding AMD to that story, they have more to gain than NVIDIA. So I kind of like it in those two cases.
And when you look at the more broadly, this is a crypto-friendly administration. The regulation seems to be lower. We've got AI coming in, and how does government regulatory environment play into that? Do you think that there's other opportunities because of the administration and the framework or lack thereof that we're seeing?
Without question. I would highlight that maybe the playbook I used 15 years ago, investing around the world and in emerging markets, when the government got involved, it was negative for valuation. I think in this case, what we've seen this week is that if as long as there's not a structural change in how this company is going to operate, then I think you take this as at least a benefit in the short run. And I think even just getting the political clearance is something, well, maybe we haven't gone down these channels in the past. This is what is going on now. And I think those companies that are playing ball are being rewarded. Investors care more about that. I'm not going to get righteous on the political front here. I'm going to talk about where I'm going to make the most money.
Tim, it's great to see you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.